Oh, didn't I just touch you? You've got a friend. So we're going to talk about what Jesus said in Luke, where he said, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you." Pretty simple, right? In fact, it's one of the teachings that's found in all the major religions, this idea of reciprocity, of giving to others as we would like for them to give to us. So I guess I'm done. But wait. Has anybody ever done something for somebody? It's exactly what you would like to have done to you, but they don't want it done to them. I was thinking about the fact that if anybody's here new, you might have noticed that people at Unity are big huggers. I've had people say, "Yeah, I went to that Unity place one time, but man, they hug too much." I thought about the story. There's this little Vietnamese teacher named Thich Nhat Hanh. And he is a peace activist. He was actually part of brokering the end to the Vietnam War. And he's a Nobel Peace Prize winner. And he told the story of when he first came to the United States. He'd been in a monastery, and then he had started to go speaking at places all over the world, trying to end the Vietnam War. And he wrote a few books, and he began to have people who wanted to follow his teachings. They became very excited about this message of peace and love that he was giving. And so he told the story that one of the first times that he came in and he was being taken back to the airport to fly to some other city by one of his students. And he got out of the car, and the woman came around and gave him a big old hug. And Thich Nhat Hanh said, he stood there. In Vietnam, people don't hug. He said, I wasn't quite sure what to do. First of all, as a monk, he just pretty much doesn't touch other people, period. So to have this woman hugging him was a little strange. And he said he knew in that moment that he had to decide for himself. Was he going to be okay to be comfortable hugging others? And luckily for all of us, Thich Nhat Hanh says, now I'm the biggest hugger in the world. But it's this difference between us, that some of us like some things and some of us like others. So this teaching of do unto others as you would have them do unto you can get a little complicated. The other thing that sometimes happens, or maybe it's just me, is that I'll do something wonderful for someone and they won't notice. They won't even say thank you. And I had this point driven home to me a few weeks ago. I shared this at the 9 o'clock meditation a few weeks ago, that I was on the phone with a relative. And it was not a good conversation. We were starting to argue with each other. Things were getting heated, and I was beginning to shout and scream into the phone. And the conversation, the point I was trying to get across to them is that I'm a good person. Can't you see? Now, I usually don't try to squeeze a confession out of anybody to have them tell me I'm a good person. And in that moment, it felt so important for me for them to acknowledge that I had been good, I had done good things. But upon reflection, I realized that shouting at somebody is probably not the best way to convince them that you are good and kind. So we find that this simple teaching of do unto others as you would have them do unto you gets very complicated. And yet Jesus talked about this many times. In Mark, we find the teaching, love thy neighbor as thyself. What if you're not very good to yourself? What if you don't love yourself very much? Does that mean you get to treat your neighbor crappy? Hey, love my neighbor as myself. So I think these teachings are causing us to take a deeper look, that there's a level of empathy and sensitivity that comes with learning at a deeper level what it means to truly love one another as we would love ourselves. That we can find it that way, that first to start with how do we better love ourselves? Because the teachings say that that's how we better love others. And I wanted to then quote, now I have 2 Johns that I'm going to quote. Neither of them are in the Bible. But one of them is a Bible scholar, so he gets credit for that. John Shelby Spong, some of you may know, defines, he's an Episcopal bishop, but he defines the way he looks at Christianity as in a progressive way, trying to develop this relationship that we have with ourselves and with God, in whatever form or fashion we know God. And he said this, he said, I am simply bearing witness that I live in a relationship with what I call the source of life. And so I practice through that relationship living fully. That is part of our responsibility as living the spiritual life, to live fully. And I live in relationship with the source of love. And so I need to learn how to love wastefully. That love is that one thing that we never run out of. And in fact, the more we create, the more we have. Let's throw some away. Let's throw it hither and yon without expectations, to love wastefully, regardless of the outcome. I live in a relationship with the ground of being. I practice that relationship by having the courage to be what I am to be. And this I am doing to try to define my personal experience with God. I thus believe that I live in and through this spiritual transcendence. And so that we can all reach down within ourselves and find that place where there is an unlimited source of love, an unlimited source of this being that we are all manifesting moment by moment. Just reaching down. No one in here is left out. Each of us has within us an unlimited amount of love to give to ourselves and to give to others. And I wanted to quote another John, who I'm not even sure read the Bible, John Lennon. He said these profound words. He said, there are 2 basic motivating forces in life, fear and love. When we are afraid, we pull back from life. But when we are in love, we are open to all that life has to offer with passion, excitement, and acceptance. We are open to all that life has to offer with passion, excitement, and acceptance. We need to love ourselves first in all our glory and imperfections. And if we cannot love ourselves, we cannot be fully open to our ability to love others or our potential to create a joyful life. Evolution and all hopes for a better world rest in each of us having fearlessness and an open-hearted vision of people who embrace life. So each of us are tasked, if we are truly going to love others as we love ourselves, to reach down inside of us and find that fountainhead of unlimited love and compassion. And one of the things I found very helpful, some of you may be familiar with a best-selling author named Gary Chapman. and he wrote a book called The 5 Love Languages. And it's about helping us understand that each of us does not feel love in the same way. That there are many ways to show that you love your friends and your family and your partner. And by looking at things from their perspective, we can open up this whole other world of ways to love each other. So these 5 things are opportunities for us to look at ways to love. And the first one is affirmation. The simple power of our words to create love for another. How much does it cost to tell another person, I love you? It's free. Yay. Go ahead, feel free to do it. Love wastefully. Tell everybody you love them. It can make their day. There are people that when they hear those words, I love you, that's what makes them feel special. We can look for ways to have positive impact on each other's lives. There's a professor in applied positive psychology named Martin Seligman. He's written a book called Flourish. And one of the things he talks about, easy schmeezy, every day, you can ask yourself and ask each other, what went well? What went well? What did you do well today? Catch somebody doing something good and tell them about it. That's what helps us feel connected to each other. We can say words of affirmation. They're absolutely free, and we can make somebody's day. And the second one is giving gifts. Now, nothing says I love you like a big old fat diamond ring. Or a new car. But in this regard, we might be thinking a little bit smaller than that. Sometimes we think that if we're going to give a gift to someone, that it has to be this big, grand show of affection. But there are small things that we can give to each other that can be far more meaningful than the biggest diamond ring that we could ever imagine. And in fact, when I was thinking about this, it brought to mind to me a time 4 years ago when my partner was in the hospital and he was dying. And I was stressed and exhausted. And a dear friend came to visit me, and she brought me a gift. She said, you know, Janet, I can't really say anything profound to you, but sometimes just being distracted helps. And every time I picked this up and started playing with it in the hospital, I kept thinking of that little song in the past. It's Slinky, wonderful magical toy. It's Slinky, fun for both girls and boys. It probably cost her 25 cents. Or maybe she just had it in her drawer. This means so much to me. Just a gift. How can we do that for each other? How can we find some little thing that we can give to each other that then suddenly has meaning beyond the price of what it was? I think we can all remember sometime when somebody gave something to us that meant so much to us. And the third love language is one of service. And when I thought about this, a girlfriend of mine a while ago, she sent me a picture of a very handsome man who was scantily clad, and he was vacuuming the living room. And the caption was, my future husband. Men, you guys do not know how sexy we think a vacuum cleaner is in your hands. I'm just saying, go home, give it a try, it might work. How can we be of service to each other? Pick up lunch, pay for the coffee for the person behind you. Little acts of service that we have an opportunity to do every day. And if we're not paying attention, we might pass them by. So we can say words of affirmation. We can give meaningful gifts. We can have acts of service and touch, that physical touch that we can give to each other. Everybody remember the first time you fell in love and somebody held your hand? It was electric. How wonderful when you haven't seen your friends or family for a while and they give you a hug or they just reach out to touch you in some way, and how powerful that can be. And we have that opportunity every single day to have that sense of love and affection for others simply by reaching out and holding their hand. And lastly, the fifth language of love is time. Is having that sense that we can be with someone fully and completely present, giving them our undivided attention. And when I thought about this, it seems at times now this becomes more difficult. I was here at lunch one day. I went over to Noodles and Company and I was eating lunch at one of the tables, and a group of teenagers came in and they ordered their food and they all sat down and they all proceeded to take out their phones and start texting. And they were sitting at the table. There was no talking going on. I don't know. Maybe they were texting each other, right? But there didn't seem to be any communication. How easy it is. We just get so in love with our distractions that we forget that there's a human being in front of us. And how powerful it is to look someone in the eyes and just simply give them your full and complete attention. People love that. And once again, it's free. So I think when we look at this teaching of do unto others as we would have them do unto us, and to love thy neighbor as we love ourselves, we can add to it this affirmation: what would do the most good? What would do the most good for yourself, for your friends, and for your families? And so as we go into meditation, we're going to do a visualization of loving kindness, of having this opportunity to connect into that limitless source of love within us. And I encourage you to just ask yourself, if you're struggling with a situation in your life, to take this opportunity to ask the question, what would do the most good? So let's think about that. As we take this opportunity to go into meditation, Straighten our spines a bit and take a few slow, full, deep breaths. Breathing in, counting to 4, and breathing out, counting to 6. Just giving ourselves this gift of time. And in this moment, bring to mind someone that when you think of them, they exemplify this deep loving kindness and compassion. Maybe someone like Jesus or Buddha or Mother Teresa or the Dalai Lama or whoever that person might be for you, maybe even a person in your life who, when you think of them, they bring to mind unconditional love and acceptance. And just imagine in this moment that they are actually here in this room with you. Sense their presence. Imagine their love and compassion showering over you like warm rays of sunshine, filling you up with this deepest sense of being loved and cared for. Just be aware of what it feels like to be deeply loved, to be accepted. And knowing in this moment that you have within you this innate, unlimited source of loving kindness. There is this limitless love within each and every single one of us. And in this moment, we can tap into it, perhaps rediscover it, and cultivate it. Imagining this energy of love at the depths of your being. Filling you up with the deepest sense of feeling loved and cared for. And allowing it to radiate out. Each of us here in this room, in this moment, we have more than enough love to share with each other. And just imagine wishing each person here to feel loved. And even beyond this room, to the entire planet, knowing that we are inseparably interconnected to every single person. That in this moment, in the silence, we can share this unlimited, abundant, joyful love. And in this moment, as we return to this time and this place, we can take with us this knowledge, this experience, this knowing that we have within us an unlimited, joyful love, more than enough to share, more than enough to love wastefully. And so it is.